What if the difference between a good performance and a great one wasn't just your physical skill, your strength, or your talent, but instead how you manage your mind? What if you could do a few simple mental tools that would help you stay calm under pressure, focus like an elite athlete, and unlock your true potential? Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, my guest today has taught these techniques to elite basketball players, including former NBA stars, and he's here to show you how they work. The best part of all this, they're quick, easy to use, and they have a massive impact without overcomplicating your day. Stick around because by the end of this episode, you'll know how to use these same tools for yourself or your team so that you can perform your best in sports and in life.
Hello, and thank you for joining the Champion Within podcast, your premier go-to spot for unlocking your winning mindset. Whether you're an athlete looking to elevate your game to the next level, a coach leading the charge, an enthusiastic parent cheering from the sidelines, or an educator molding young minds, the Champion Within podcast episodes are packed with value, sharing the tools and strategies to unlock your potential and rise to new heights. Hosted by mentor, coach, and mindset leader Kate McCauley. Let's sit back and enjoy today's episode while discovering your champion within. And now, here's Kate.
Hey, champions, thank you for joining us on the Champion Within. We are excited to have you back with us again. My guest today is Jon Giesbrecht. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. You'll have to tell me if I screwed that one up, Jon. Jon is the director of mental performance for the Vancouver Bandits in the Canadian Elite Basketball League. He helps athletes perform with confidence under pressure. He's the founder of Play Free, Trust Your Game, a free school community for athletes, parents, and coaches focused on building elite mindset, leadership, and consistency. Jon is also the author of Free Your Mind, Unlock Your Potential, the 90-day athlete success journal that's available on Amazon. In this journal, you get practical tools to help competitors stop overthinking and start trusting their game. Jon, are you ready to share the secrets from pressure to peace with my audience?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. I'm going to jump right into it, and then we'll talk a little bit about your journey in a couple minutes here. Can you share a moment where a basketball player was struggling with something related to performance, maybe getting in their head a little bit, impacting their game, and how you help them?
Yeah. My first season as the director of mental performance for the Vancouver Bandits, we had a player that was consistently getting ejected from our games, and very good player, high level player. The challenge being we have such a short season, so I think from a mental performance standpoint, it's being able to build trust fast, meeting players where they're at, and for this specific player, it was kind of taking my time to see if he even wanted to work on this. And once I had that kind of buy-in, we just talked about little strategies that he could use to manage his fight or flight moments. And specifically, dealing with dirty play, dealing with people that were wrapping him up, fouling, talking trash, being able to regulate his nervous system. So a big tool that I teach for every player that I ever work with is being able to read state, because if you can read state, you can regulate state. And then the more that you read and regulate state, you're reinforcing state. Okay. So in the moment where he's in basketball, when you're running the floor and he runs to the rim, getting wrapped up, he's getting fouled. So being able to recognize when he's feeling that contact, what's actually happening in his system, noticing how his body wants to tense up and push and get into a fight, being able to feel that contact, put his hands up, breathe, and deal with it. So not only did we talk about that, but I think what makes me unique as a mental performance coach is I used to be a college and professional basketball coach. So I'd get on the court and we'd work on those situations and help him deal with those uncomfortable feelings and better refocus his attention on the things that matter and the things that help our team win.
Right. So did he have less ejections when he started to recognize what was happening in his body and then adjusting with either the breath work or something to calm himself down?
Yeah. So he had multiple ejections throughout the season. Actually, we made it to the championship game, and
Cool.
They were really coming after him, and they were grabbing him, and as I said, making these dirty plays. And he had moments where we just said, can you take your hands instead of pushing space? Can you just kind of surrender to it and put your hands up in the air, show the referee your hands,
right?
And then you can swim. You can, but from that place you can respond instead of react.
Push them back.
Caught in the reactivity. Right.
I love it. It's really cool. You just said something that is really interesting to me. You said that I was a basketball coach. So this helps you connect and relate to the players. Do you think that your time as a basketball coach, when you were coaching, were you using these mental techniques in even a small way and you didn't know? Or is this something that came later when you started to learn more about the mental side of the game?
Yeah. I mean, there was probably a mix of things for me that led me to where I am now with the mental game, skills and tools. But I'd say generally one of the reasons was, for me, I was just very fiery, competitive, but a lot of times caught in my own ego with games and, yelling at referees, cussing, just really losing control. And it was costing my team games, in moments, and had a lot of success as a high school coach specifically. Like, we won a lot of championships and it was a great time. But I just always felt like there was something more there outside of just purely technical, tactical skill development and basketball strategy. And from that place, I just said, you know what, I think I'm just going to work on this a bit. And what I found was the more present I could be in the moment, I could offer presence, be more available to the players. They also just performed better. Like, they weren't on edge because I was someone, what we call co-regulation, right? I'm able, in a regulated state, in chaos and pressure, and the athletes would feel that. And then from there, let's say coming out of a timeout, they actually execute what we're talking about because they're in the moment. Like, their brains are receptive to the information instead of, being closed down and not being in the moment.
Right.
So I think that was one of the places that it started.
Okay, really cool. I was a teacher for 20 years and now I do this mental performance work. And you can learn, but not at your best ability or perform athletically if you're in that state of chaos. Your body is reacting. And I have found that a lot of athletes don't want to admit that they're experiencing that because they don't want to seem like they're weak or they can't handle that. Have you seen that there's any pushback related to, maybe it was early on when you started doing this work, since you're, with the Bandits now for some time, have you experienced that there's any pushback where people think, okay, the mental side of the game is important, but maybe they think like it's a little too woo-woo? Have you ever experienced anything like that?
Of course. One of my mentors told me as I was approaching like my first season with the Bandits, he said, it's the rule of thirds. You're going to have a third of the people in this room that just, want to eat it up and they're just about it. And they just want to find every single edge to help them advance their careers. Then you've got people that are on the fence about it. And then you've got people that just won't really pay too much attention to it. Maybe in the beginning, they might just be open to it, but they don't want to prolong the experience.
Right.
So I think the biggest thing for me when I was initially, getting into this work was just like, I don't want to say lowering my expectations, but just like realizing that, all right, as long as I'm safe and secure and connected in my experience, it doesn't matter if, someone reacts or says that it is woo-woo or it is whatever it is. So I felt like all right, if they don't respond to it or they judge me for it or whatever
Mm-hmm.
else, and I can be in my center, it's just a testament to this work. And then they feel that, and then maybe they do open up to it. So I think especially with pros, you got to be pretty rock solid, because they're always kind of asking, why are we doing this? Why is this important?
Mm.
If you put in the work, there's really nothing to fear. It's like, I'm just here to help and serve you
Right.
guys and help you win, like help you win in your career, help you make more money or whatever else it is that's important to you.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've seen the same thing happening. I do a lot of work, high school, college, and some pros, not with the whole team yet. I'm coming for them. But I have found that a lot of people need that. What is the value for me? And I respect that, to be honest. I'm okay with you having to understand what the value. A lot of people talk mental toughness, mindset, but they don't fully understand it until they experience it. So I was just curious to see if you were experiencing the same type of thing from people. I love the rule of thirds. Very true with so many things, really. And
Yeah, I think too, like the other thing that was really helpful for me, and I think where the rule of thirds, like you can actually expand that ratio in terms of the people that you can help, is, when you have people in the room that really you're bought in already, like our captain, for example, played in the NBA, he's always doing the pregame meditations. So I thought the second season was a little bit easier once I built that relationship. We built that relationship in the first season, and it just carried over. Like we were doing Qigong with the whole team before practices, and that could be seen as pretty woo woo.
Sure.
But every single player was doing it. Every single player was doing pre-practice workouts with mental performance with me. Sometimes too, like if you connect with the right people that have the influence, like you may not necessarily be the one to help someone, but there may be another person, and then they can redirect their focus back to the work.
So true. I have had that experience so many times. It's a breakthrough moment in a workshop with a team. Sometimes it's a captain or a leader, or sometimes it's even an assistant coach or someone, because I insist that they're with us. It can't just be the athletes for me. The coaches have to be there. But there is a moment, and we can all feel it when it happens, and you get that buy-in. And everyone else was a little, maybe not everyone else, but some people were a little leery, not sure, they're on the fence. And when that happens, it's almost like everyone else has that permission slip sign now, that they are a little bit more free to try some of this stuff. And you're so right. Then everyone else is bought in a little bit more. And then the next workshop, the next season becomes a little bit more easy to integrate those things in. I love that everyone's doing that before the game, or is it before practice or games that they were doing the Qigong with you?
We were doing like 5 minutes of a mindful meditation,
Gotcha,
breath awareness. Like it varied, but pretty much every practice we were doing at least something that was
very
simple,
cool.
like even just like box breathing,
Yeah, I teach a lot of those different techniques. I had a swim team that I was teaching emotional freedom tapping to move blocks through, and just kind of that self-talk. Their coach messaged me. I was actually very concerned because it was like a long swim meet day. And he said they were all tapping right before they got on the block. I'm not with them at every meet that they're at. And it was great to hear that they were using those tools right before they got on the blocks to get in the pool, because that's really what you want. You want them to incorporate that in before practice, before they actually compete and make it a habit. So it's really cool to hear that they're putting that in to practice.
I think if you can experience it, that's when you start to shift. And it's one thing to talk about it, but having specific things that you can just, when you follow your breath just for a minute, noticing the shifts and changes in your own physiology. A lot of times when you have that direct experience, that's when people are going to become more open to it. So I thought what we were doing with just the 5 minutes gave people an opportunity to play with it, to experience it, and kind of leave them wanting more in a way that, hey, Jon, you know what? Let's actually like go for lunch and talk about this stuff. Or
Sure.
so it was just kind of planting that seed. And I thought that was a really good model for our season, in that, it is short and it's pretty condensed.
You know what I also love about that? As a teacher, I despised when people came in and said, we're going to take over your whole day. As a coach, when I was coaching basketball, and I got talked into tennis and volleyball, I played a little bit, but they just needed a coach. Basketball was really my love, actually. And I really didn't like when somebody would come in and say, we're going to revamp the entire educational process of how we're doing this because we have a new system that's going to work. I get it. The district bought this, and now we're going to all have to do this thing. But when you can put something into the workflow of the day, whether it's for academics, athletics, the corporate space, whatever it is, and it can be woven in a way where it doesn't totally change what we are doing, but it uniquely intertwines and makes things more productive, that's how people improve, in my opinion. So I think that those small things, and then you can talk about it. Like you said, some people might want to do it more. I always tell people, I do the guided meditations. It doesn't have to be, sometimes it is 20 minutes with teams, but it could be 1 minute on the bus when they're getting to their away game. I teach them these little things right before you go to bed, different things. It doesn't have to take over an entire practice. I think coaches fear that when I'm talking to them initially, because although this mental performance mindset stuff has been around for a long time, it is new in many ways to people. And they fear it sometimes that it's going to take over their whole program. So to be able to put it in quickly, I think is a benefit.
A lot of coaches think that they need to be a psychologist to do, a couple minutes of breath work, and they make it a bigger deal than it is. So being able to connect with a mental performance coach and keep it really simple, like, hey, it could be like when you call the players in to start a practice. All right, let's just breathe together. Everybody breathing in, breathing out. And again, if you own it and you're like in your body and connected and not worried about how the players will react, or if there's one or two individuals that aren't really participating,
it's okay.
It's going to be, it's when they're ready. My favorite quote is when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? So start small and then just see where it takes you. And also just understand that 1 or 2 minutes improves the effectiveness of the practice, the video session, how people learn. So
I love that.
Hey coach, does any of this sound familiar? Your athletes are talented, but they lose focus when the pressure's on. Confidence swings up and down from game to game. Some play tight and second guess themselves. They struggle to reset after mistakes. Think about it. How many games or competitions have you lost, not because the other team was better, but because your athletes got in their own heads? Every coach has seen it. The missed free throw, the strikeout, the dropped pass, not from lack of skill, but from lack of mindset. That's why I created the Champion Within programs, to bring tools that will help unlock peak performance for your athletes. It's also why I lead team workshops on visualization, breathwork, and mental skills training to take these conversations off the podcast and bring it to your team. I do this in person and virtually. Imagine your athletes learning how to bounce back faster, handle pressure with confidence, and step into the game mentally sharp and ready. That's the difference mindset training makes. If you're ready to give your team that edge, let's talk. Go down to the show notes after the show and set up a call to see how I can help your athletes win from the inside out.
I did some stalking, read some articles, and I heard you on some podcasts, not some crazy, creepy stalking, don't get worried. But I love that you said it also has that ripple effect into your life. And they start trying things. It's not just about basketball. Of course, we want to use it for the sport that we're integrating it into. But when you're ready and you start using these things, it's not like your brain turns off. Something that is benefiting you in every area of life. I saw something in an article where you simply say to a basketball athlete who's subbed out of a game, get down. where they go through some breathing, I believe, if I remember the article correctly. What is that you do there? Are they already learning the breath work? And when they're subbed out, you recommend that they just take a breathing technique that is working for them already that they use on the bench?
Yeah, so that's called gearing down.
Gearing down, okay.
Yeah, so we've got a system that, like, for the Vancouver Bandits, all the players on the team, one of the first things that I do is I get with them on court. I'm rebounding, just having conversation with them. But once they're ready, I may say, hey, like, this is something that we teach a lot of our players. Are you open to experience it? And basically, it's simulating different situations that they can experience on the court, getting their breath rate up, getting their heart rate up, and teaching them how to slow it down. And what I found is just generally a lot of players are pretty out of touch with their breathing. They'll stay in mouth breathing longer than they need, and then they'll induce a lot of anxiety. So just teaching them how to, when you get up to what we call a gear 5, which is a lot of mouth breathing, getting them down to each stage. So we'd start at, let's say, a gear, we'd go to a gear 4, which would be a reset. And we'd say powerfully in through the nose, blow some of that pressure out. You do that once or twice, and then you start to let the air out slower. And ultimately, you need that CO2 for greater oxygen delivery. Initially, when you're training it, it's uncomfortable. But when you learn to just let the air fall out, let your body soften, let your body drop, it gets easier. You build your CO2 tolerance. Go to gear 3. Gear 3, in through the nose, hold up at the top, slowly out the mouth. Gear 2, in through the nose, out through the nose. So we're just kind of slowly taking it out. So they're taking it down. So when we get to the bench, that's one of the moments that you can recover. And the players that I coach at the highest levels, let's say the NBA, the one thing that keeps them really, really solid is having multiple checkpoints or recovery windows throughout a game. I don't just let all this pressure build up in my system, and now I collapse.
Right.
Pressure builds up, I work with it, I discharge it, I let it go, I get back to activation. It's this like rhythm that you're developing. I call it like pendulating into activation, like going into activation, going into stress, and then coming back to calm. Right. So I go back and forth into activation, into calm. Some of the players, I'm sure it's the same for you. Like sometimes they get stuck in activation and they can't actually relax. So going back to your question about gearing down and doing the substitutions, I'd put them through different situations that they're going to see in the game, contact, different kinds of passes, get them on the move, get them in different types of actions that they're going to experience in the game. Sometimes I'm contesting, sometimes I'm guarding them a specific way. And then when I use the trigger word gear down, I stop either on the court, I keep them on the court, and it could be during like free throws and they have that stoppage, that recovery window to check in. They're going through their gears. It could be, I say gear down and I say sub out. Now you're subbing out, and every player has a specific routine that they're using when they sub out of a game. A lot of times we get them to the end of the bench where they can take some space, jump up and down, shake their body out, and continue to gear down. They get to the bench, same thing, grounding with their feet, stomping, breathing, adjusting their posture, balancing things out, using those gears, and then returning back to what's actually happening in front of them. So just not staying in activation throughout a whole game and just gassing out their whole system. Seeing a lot of players that can't finish games because they've just been in activation the whole time.
Yeah, they're exhausted. Physically, mentally. Right. I love the work you do. Thank you for all of it. It's really cool. And I'm glad I found you. The algorithm must have known you're going to love this. So it showed me on my Instagram page. So I need to have you tell everyone a little bit about your community and your book. I know it's on Amazon. I will drop the links for the book. How can people connect? Is there a link for the school community, for athletes, for what's the best way, I guess, to work with you?
Yeah. So I mean, with the book's really simple. It's got 3 pillars. The first pillar is mastering your nervous system. So being able to, what I said in the beginning, read, regulate, and reinforce state. And basically just daily check-ins, like learning to become more sensitive to sensation. So you go through kind of a checklist of what you're experiencing, but also noticing when there was a shift. So in the game, when did my focus shift? What happened? Well, I felt this is what I was experiencing, and so on. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is practice design. So a lot of players, as I was saying before, aren't necessarily simulating what they're going to experience in the game. So how can we improve our practice design so that we see greater transfer? All the work that you do actually transfers over into the game. And then the third pillar is a little bit deeper work, asking sometimes painful questions to shift yourself from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset.
Okay.
So throughout
and is it specifically for basketball, or any athlete could be using it? Any
athlete. So I think we've sold over 3,000 copies.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah. And like I have a basketball on the cover, but I have all kinds of athletes using it. I have parents that are using it, coaches, people that are business people using it.
Cool.
So
we'll definitely drop the link. So for all my listeners, you can just go right down to the show notes and click on that and get your copy. It sounds like an amazing piece that they could use for all the pillars.
Many iterations, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely. Really cool. And your school community, is that something that you're still doing?
Yeah.
So, okay.
I offer a free community where people can just come in and, ask questions. But then if people want to, work with me, we run like group calls each week. You come on, you check in with how you're doing, and then we work on some mental performance work together. So different concepts, maybe meditations, breath work, simple things just to get started. And then if you want to go deeper and you have like a very specific challenge, then I encourage people to work with me one-on-one.
Right. And of course, we will get the links for all of my listeners. I will drop them in the show notes so you can connect with either the community, the book, or both. I would suggest you check it all out because I've been stalking it, as I mentioned, and it is really cool. Well, thank you, Jon. We're going to jump to our last question here. I'm really curious to see what you say about this. If you were the main character in a movie called The Champion Within, and everybody is watching, they're leaning in, it's a cliffhanger moment, screen goes to black, what do you think everybody would be hoping you do next?
It's like a really simple thing that I've been working on, but to stop hiding in little moments, because I feel those little moments transfer to big moments. And it might sound really silly, but today I haven't got my teeth cleaned in about a year, and I'm going to get my teeth cleaned. So like little things like that, I think sometimes carry over, just getting more organized, more structured, and that when you're taking action on just the smallest things, it makes big things happen. And as I was saying before, people feel that. So
yeah, I think it stacks up. You're right. All those tiny little things.
Yeah. That's the thing for me, just making things a little bit tighter, a little bit more organized, taking small bites every day.
Okay. So they're going to be hashtagging, yelling in the audience there, like, keep going every little step, 1%, 1%, something like that. I love it. Well, thank you for hanging out with us today. I really appreciate it. I know my listeners are probably going to be stealing some of the tips that you gave here, hopefully following. In addition to those things we talked about today, for everybody who's listening, I will also drop the Instagram link because you're going to want to check all of those out. I love the 60-second quick things you've been throwing on there. I was binging all of those. So pretty cool stuff. Anything else you want to share with everyone that you feel like they just need to know?
That's all. Like, I mean, connecting with me on Instagram would be cool. Like you said, sharing free content there, sharing free content in the school community, like different meditations that people can try. But I really appreciate being here and getting the opportunity to speak on this, because I think as I've been in the game for so long, I think it's really something that needs more attention. So the more that we can have these conversations, I really think this is what's growing the game.
Good. I love that. And I agree. I think that it could change so many things for athletes, for students. I'm passionate about it, and I really appreciate you sharing it, because I think all the different perspectives of it really can help people understand how this can transform the game in so many different ways in your life. So thank you. And everybody who's hanging out with us today, we appreciate it. Make sure you come back for our Sunday episode, and we will see you then.
Thank you for hanging out with Kate today. And whether you're going to coach, teach, cheer from the sidelines, or hitting the field yourself, remember, mindset is everything. Don't forget to follow the show for the latest episodes, as we all need a little extra motivation, humor, and sanity in our busy lives. Now, go and unleash your champion within you, one step at a time. We're always rooting for you.